replication, which is, the standard in scientific research. So we selected one cultivar, which was cherry diesel, and we just tested on cherry diesel so that we could try to eliminate variability between cultivars. And we replicated the trial. There were 4 total replications, and each flushing period by replication has
All right,
3
just completed
plants.
step 34.
If we do the math, there were 4 different flushing periods, 4 replications, 3 plants per each. 4 times 4 times 3. I believe, if my math is correct, gets us to 48 plants total in the trial. So to demonstrate that we did this on many, many plants, because anybody who's worked with plants knows that sometimes one plant here or there can do funky things. They can do weird things, and they don't always behave the same. So we wanted to make sure we did it on lots of different plants. And so we did what is known as a randomized complete block design. So in grow rooms, there's little microclimates within a grow room, where if you're near a wall, if you're far away from a wall, you're close to lots of other plants, little different microclimates can pop up. And so what the randomized complete block design allows us to do is to account for those little microclimates and make sure that, for example, we didn't just put the 0-day flush by, the part of the room where there were more fans, for example, or a part of the room where maybe it would get a little more intense lighting or something like that. So we really wanted to space out and make sure the plants were really being treated as evenly as possible, and that we were really just testing the effect of the 4 different flush periods we were investigating, which was 14 days, 10 days, 7 days, and 0 days. And 0 days could be considered the control in this instance, because we were asking the question of whether flushing is beneficial, and then the secondary question of, if flushing is beneficial, is there a time period that's better than the others?
How were the plants being fed?
All plants were fed hydroponically. And they were all given the same volume of feed. So they were all given the exact same nutrient program and the exact same volume of feed up until the flushing began, and that's when they started to be treated differently. That's when we induced the flushing period, and then plants that were not being flushed were still being fed nutrients at that time at the same volume and the same concentration of nutrients.
What media was being used, please?
So we used a cocoa core, 70% cocoa, 30% perlite substrate.
Okay, so if the earliest plant which had been flushed, when you stopped feeding it nutrients, it would have stopped receiving nutrients exactly on that day, and would have just been receiving water. Was the water treated in any way?
So we used reverse osmosis treated water throughout the entire growing cycle.
Okay. And then at the end of harvest, then was there a curing period, or did you test them fresh?
So for mineral analysis, we collected the samples when the flush began and at harvest, and then in order to do that type of analysis, you have to dry them down before you can analyze them. The flour that was measured for yield, THC, terpenes, and then eventually consumed by our taste test panelists did go through a curing process before all that happened.
The expectation then, based on sort of what people had believed up to then, was that there would be the main motivation for doing the flushing at an earlier stage, or at an early stage, would have been to remove those minerals from the plant matter, or from passing through the plant, and therefore having a lower mineral content in the flowers, in the harvested flowers. Is that correct?
Yes. So I definitely have heard over the years that flushing during the, at the end of the flower cycle will remove any excess